I spent my winter break in Costa Rica, so I took a flight to San Jose, and then right when I got there, I took a 4-hour shared shuttle to La Fortuna. And the first day I got there, I walked around to all the tour booths and tried to find the best prices since you can't really do a lot of the stuff here alone. And that was super stressful because it was winter break and everything was booked up. So afterwards, I went to a steakhouse for dinner and paid way too much for this meal. The prices here are basically the same price as Chicago, and the town still had their Christmas decorations up, so I walked around looking at all the lights. The next day I did all of the activities I could without a tour, so I went to La Fortuna waterfall, which is the most famous landmark here. After climbing down 15 minutes of stairs, I went over these slippery rocks, and then afterwards I went to a Soda, which is like a cheaper family-run local restaurant here. And even at these local places, the food is still about $6 to $10 per plate. This juice was just like fruit bits and water. But the food here is super healthy. It's just rice and beans. And then afterwards, I Ubered to a local hot springs, which was free, which was super nice because a lot of the hot springs here are about $50 to $100 a day. But this one was au natural, so I just went and laid on the rocks. It wasn't too crowded, and also the water was pretty warm. It wasn't like steaming hot, but it still felt really nice. So I just found a crevice in one of these rocks and just laid there. It felt so good. It felt like a hot tub. And then afterwards, I went to a food truck because I saw a bunch of local people crowding around here. And also the prices here for food are just way too expensive. The cheapest meal at a restaurant is going to be like 15 to 20 bucks. And then the next day I went canyoning and rappelling. So I just strapped the GoPro to my helmet. And you can see here, this is how you go rappelling. You just kind of bounce off the cliff while holding onto a rope. So before every rappel, you go to the top of the cliff and then they strap you to some ropes. And then when you go down, you have one hand in front and one hand behind holding the rope. And then you lean back with your feet wide apart and just bounce off of the cliff. And then for this next rappel, you didn't have to bounce off the cliff. You just literally let go of the rope and you just went down the entire cliff. It was super high. And here's another example of someone rappelling off the cliff. And there were also a few zip lines. For this zip line in particular, it was going backwards. So you can see that there's a point where my neck just snaps back right here. And that's because the guy operating the rope pressed the brake super suddenly. And throughout the canyoning and zip lining, you can see that we're just hiking through the forest. Here we had to jump in this pool of water, which I didn't even know how deep it was. And then afterwards, we had lunch, which was more rice and beans. And then for dinner, I had to get a pizza because I was tired of rice and beans. And then the next day I went whitewater rafting. So you can see here, I just strapped the camera to my helmet again. And since I went alone, I was with this couple from Texas who were like my adopted parents for the day. So you can see here, we just paddle to control the boat when our guide tells us to. And the waters are pretty rough. We kept getting splashed in the face. It was super fun though. Luckily, I didn't fall out of the boat, but I definitely saw some people who did. So we did this for about an hour for the entirety of the trip. And then afterwards, the guides all flipped over a boat and cut up some pineapple and watermelon. And here we are sharing the community fruit. And on the drive back, I saw a sloth sleeping in a tree. Look how cute. And then our tour guide also let me feed their goat. And then for lunch, of course, more rice and beans. And then for dinner, I went to a Western restaurant to get a burger and a salad. And the next day I went to the local Soda again to get breakfast, which of course was rice and beans. And then I took an Uber to the national park to see the volcano. And since I went alone, I had no idea what the animals I saw were during my trip, but I took videos of them. And this hiking path was super flat and short, so I just wore my sandals. And this volcano has erupted a few times recently, so here are the lava rocks. And La Fortuna is always super rainy and cloudy, so it was very difficult to see the volcano. That is what it's supposed to look like in that picture. Here was another view of it. You can kind of see the bottom of the volcano, but again, it was so cloudy that I really couldn't see anything. And then afterwards, I went to a soda buffet, which is not really a buffet. It's just where you can pick your own food, kind of like Chipotle. But I really love these soda buffets because the plates are humongous and they're about $10. And of course, it's more rice and beans and a meat and a salad usually. Since it was New Year's Eve, they had a concert outside with a local band, and the crowd was mostly locals. I didn't see too many tourists actually. It was slightly unpleasant though because it would rain very hard, so we would have to go hide every now and then. But for my midnight snack, I got some street meat wrapped in a tortilla, and then I got a tamal from a local soda, which was super good. And then for New Year's, they just had some fireworks go off, and that was that. I was sober the entire time, but it was cute. It kind of reminded me of my experience in Ecuador. Before the second half of my trip, I went to Tamarindo, which is a very expensive beach town in Costa Rica on the west side of the country. And on this part of the trip, I really just wanted to go to the pool and the beach, and then also go to the gym every day because I was feeling gross. I was actually very surprised. They had a very nice weightlifting gym here that was only about a 5-minute walk from my hostel. So that was super nice to go to every day. And they also have Thursday night markets, which I went to. But again, everything in Tamarindo was just so expensive that I didn't really buy anything. I just looked around. And I tried to go to food courts for my meals that I ate out. But again, everything here was so expensive. Like this poke bowl was $20 and it wasn't even that good. But every day I would just take a 5-minute walk to the beach. And I went surfing on my last few days, which was honestly really hard. I had to wear a rash guard because my top would fall down in the waves, and also I didn't want to get burned or also get chafing from the softboard. But as you can see, the surfboard is super big. It was super hard to carry along the beach, and it's like 8 feet tall. But I would just go surfing at sunset, and honestly, this was a vibe. I would rather do this than surf during the day when it's sunny and hot. And I couldn't take videos of myself surfing, so here are some examples of other people surfing. As you can see, the waves are super small, so this is a great place for beginners. And then afterwards, I went to this food truck area to get dinner, and again, the food here was super expensive. This poke bowl was like $20. And then the next day, I took a shuttle to San Jose, which was about 5 hours long, and went to Loco Soda's for lunch and dinner. As you can see, more rice and beans. And then for dinner, I had rice and beans with pork. And my roommate and I ate our food on the hostel floor.